They believe targeting is cool, not creepy. From Samba TV, here's Dan Ackerman. Tap ad, Marshall Wong. Alfonso, Mark Gall. And from TVTY, Elliot Rayek. Along with Trillia's Jeff Zanella.
Get cozy over here.
Get cozy here.
We'll move down.
Oh, sorry. You guys all fit over there?
I think you guys planned for the shoulder width.
I think so, yes. It's a very intimate conversation that we want to be having here. So thank you guys for being here. We really thank you guys for participating here. And more importantly, thank you guys for your sponsorships and your company's sponsorships here and your support that you've given our event here. And I just quickly want to start off by taking everyone inside my own living room and the relationship of myself and my wife in terms of how we currently consume content. And none of it more so explains kind of what me and my wife do on the couch more than this slide here, which from Facebook shows the fact that when we're watching TV, we don't talk to each other. And when the commercials come on, we don't look at each other. We'll go to our devices and we're talking to our devices and our friends on social media. So for marketers, that just means we're constantly distracted and we're not even watching TV ads anymore. And for that, your guys' platforms provide an interesting technology for how we can sort of align with that type of behavior and talk to those consumers when it's contextually relevant in some really cool and some unique ways. So if you guys can just quickly kind of introduce your guys' platforms and the methodologies that you guys employ in order to address that type of behavior, and start with Dan, if you don't mind.
Great. Yeah, well, first of all, it's awesome to have so many companies in the space. It's a great validation of the business. So Dan Ackerman, Chief Revenue Officer at Samba TV. We have a technology that sits in the chipset of 9 different manufacturers. When they leave the factory, it's already in there. 100% opt-in, so when you set up your television, you opt into the services to get recommendations, see trending for content, but also to support a bunch of advertising services. So off of that, we're able to retarget consumers based on what they're exposed to on the television, regardless of the source. Orange is the New Black on a streaming service, The Patriots on CBS on Sunday, or any other source, video games. Be able to understand what's happening, and then when you and your wife are sitting there, just like we do, glad we're not the only ones that don't talk during commercial breaks, then you can personalize it to the consumer on a device in their household, like a mobile, tablet, desktop, and really start to personalize what is a big reach vehicle in television and take it down to the individual. And we have huge focus on privacy, which I know is the remit of this panel here. So looking forward to talking about that today.
Great. Thanks. And Marshall?
Sure. Marshall Wong, SVP Market Development at TapAd. TapAd's a cross-device data licensing company and DSP. And we see at TapAd, folks are moving across devices up to 27 times an hour, which is exactly the story you're talking about with TV and Facebook. And to complete a given task, we often see folks using 2-3 different devices. So an example of that being, you saw a hotel booking ad on TV, a few hours later, you checked out hotel prices on your phone, you get home from work, and you actually book the hotel room on your laptop. So at TapAd, we're really focused on helping marketers orchestrate campaigns across TV and digital, leveraging our device graph. So applications of that include things like managing reach and frequency across TV and digital, sequential messaging plays where if you've previously been exposed on TV, hitting you with a lower funnel digital message online, TV planning tools to help you find the networks, the day parts, the programs that have the highest index for your audience, applications like that. So it's really about the device graph connecting TV and online.
Great.
Mark Gall, CRO from Alfonso. So we're the opening act for Lou Pascalis. Is that how it works right now?
Yes, we're getting it warmed up.
That is amazing. So you brought up the bit about in your home when the commercial comes on, you're on your Facebook and what have you. What's also interesting is that our data has found that if you think about it, if people are on Facebook or if they're on Twitter or whatever, looking at video or whatever, you're not switching channels on your television channel, right? So actually, TV ratings are actually going up because even though you're not watching it, you're not switching channels, the ratings are going up. So think about that as in that context. What Alfonso does is we have our ACR technology in TVs and mobile devices in apps. And we have 40 million unique devices, smart TVs, mobile phones and tablets. And that's 1 out of 3 TV homes in the United States, deterministic one-to-one relationship between the TV and the mobile devices. So what we can do is the phone and the tablet where our technology, our SDK is in, recognizes what's on television, and then we can now serve an ad to that unique ID in a deterministic fashion. So that's what we do.
Great. Really happy to be here. My name is Elliot. I'm the CEO and co-founder of TVTY. As you might hear, I'm from France. Nobody's perfect. But I recently relocated to New York to develop the company in the US. TVTY is the moment marketing company. It means that we analyze all those moments that can have an impact on consumer behaviors, consumer emotions, and thus on advertising efficiency. And TV is one of them. For TV, we have an approach that is a bit different, where we will synchronize mostly search campaigns, so AdWords and Bing, with TV ads. And that is interesting because maybe you are on Facebook with your wife during the ad break, but we see also that ad breaks drive a lot of traffic on website and on search queries. So people look, like they see an ad, they're interested in the product, let's say a pizza, and they will go online and search for pizza delivery in Boston, for example. You want to be on top of search results at this moment because this is intent-based, so there is no privacy issue here. Like people are auto-targeting themselves, basically by typing in specific keywords. So what we do is we will allow a brand, a pizza brand, for example, to conquest off of their competitors. As soon as they appear on TV, we will put them on top of the search results. And by doing that, you will basically conquest all this traffic coming from TV, or you can also amplify your own message. But we do that a lot with search.
No, that's all great, and again, for us, from an advertising standpoint, it's paramount. But then we answer the next natural question to this is when I actually describe it to my friends. They're like, "Holy shit, this is crazy!" Where does this line stand with the idea that we have to be cognizant of consumers' privacy, especially in these days where that's paramount? I mean, most people right now, the stats are people care more about their personal privacy than they do about national security. So the idea that TV manufacturers and OEMs are now selling their data to targeting partners and advertisers like us, unbeknownst to consumers. So there's this level of transparency from the consumer perspective that isn't necessarily there. So are we going to face a backlash right now? Is we going to start to see the FTC and government now start to get more involved as consumers become more aware of this? And is that going to be the case? And Dan, we talked about this backstage.
I think you bring up a good point, but you're referencing a couple of, I think, bad actors in the industry who went to market and didn't take consumer privacy and respect the consumer. So you can take a couple different approaches. One of them is being completely transparent and letting the consumer know exactly what they're getting into, and if they're willing to opt into that and make their data available, then you've created a relationship with the consumer. So our company started out actually building consumer products, which is really focused on discovery, because you turn on your television now, you have 7 different devices connected to it, you have a cable subscription, and then you have all the apps on the television. So just finding something to watch is a pretty difficult proposition today. And that's really what the technology was built for originally. And then realize there's a lot of cool advertising products and services and research you can build on top of it. So already had the relationship with the manufacturer and with the consumer. So there's no self-regulation right now, or so there's no imposed regulation. Right now it's all self-regulation. So I think it's incumbent upon companies to be very proactive in working with the FTC, but also being really transparent to the consumer of exactly what's going on and avoiding class action lawsuits and all the trouble you can get yourself into if you don't respect the consumer.
Yeah, Dovetail, we operate under double opt-in, single opt-out, but you can also go to alfonso.tv and have a do not track and click on there, put your information in, and we'll make sure that we're not following your, none of the partners are following your PII.
Yeah, most of the large TV manufacturers licensing their ACR data today, they already have very clear notification policies around how the data is being used and very clear steps for opting out. And people are opting out. Millions of people are indeed opting out. And it's just my personal opinion, it really is going to come down to the TV manufacturers have to provide compelling reasons for consumers to continue not opting out. So whether that's offering new services, content recommendation, content discovery, reduce ad payloads. I think those are steps in the right direction.
Unique thing about TV is that it's built, 50-year history on being I'm going to give some of my time to watch ads to get great content. So you put your consumer in an environment where they're much more accustomed to trading time watching commercials for great content. So I think we're taking this approach certainly puts you a foot ahead of all of the difficulties that a lot of the digital ad blockers that are popping up all over the place in the digital space. Not exactly a great parallel here. The application certainly is on digital devices, but where you're capturing the data is in an environment where people are just accustomed to ads.
I mean, to that point, it is getting to a point, though, it is still very creepy. And we talk about transparency and this idea of allowing for opt-out. But with technology, we're also seeing that it's hard for us to have a universal opt-out feature when we think about going from device to device. We have cookies, we have device IDs, we have your own TV. A lot of these ways which in how we're disclosing the information is kind of hidden behind a lot of legal terms that people aren't really reading. So to that point, do we think we're doing a good enough job as an industry and managing those best practices?
It's interesting. I come from Europe, where you have to opt in if you want to be able to be targeted. Here in the US, it's a bit like it's the contrary, right? It's like you are opt-in by default, and you have to opt out. Sometimes,
That's not necessarily. If you do it the right way, you start in with an opt-in. But yes, there are some. It's not legally bound
legally
to start with opt-in.
It's a lot more strict, like in France. So you cannot do that. And that's why we focus more on intent-driven marketing. People searching for specific keywords because they are saying, I'm interested in that product. I think that the service element is really important. Like if you want people to opt in, you have to give them something in exchange, right? And it's not only like better targeting for ads, because people will not buy that. So what do you give in exchange?
I know we're getting close on time. I just want to make sure to point out the value. We are talking about some of the challenges and risks, but at the same time, we live in a very fragmented universe, and as marketers, it's really hard. Live television is not a vehicle that just by default works. So I think companies like ours that are creating technology across the board here, enabling a marketer to now string together exposure on television, exposure in non-ad supported environments, and then connect that to the digital is pretty powerful.
Yeah. No, and I think
creating an opportunity.
And I think to that point is that with the last conversation is just that from a creative standpoint, experience-wise, that's what we need to be delivering, not just an ad format.
Yep. Great point, Dan. Great point. If you think about it, Deloitte came out with their semi-annual survey in July. It said 92% of folks watching TV are looking down at their mobile or their tablet. 92%. So if you think about it, that very expensive TV ad is now a very expensive radio ad. So the ability to sync on a one-to-one basis, that creative or a different creative or a piece of content in an app, in a video, in a pre-roll, it's powerful. Right? TV is massive. TV is wonderful. 40% brand recall. 40%. But again, when you put that mobile device in the room, it drops 90%. And that's a problem. Us as a group here, we can certainly help the TV industry connect to mobile. So TV to mobile, one-to-one, sells product.
Great.
Fact.
For just the last question then, whose technology is best on this panel?
Well, hey, it's a great question and one that I think we'll all have our own unique ansers on.
That's a good point.
I think
people developing tech usually wear shirts.
With yellow or hoodies. I think the most important thing to focus on is that you look at your customer churn rate. You build a business over a bunch of years. Customers keep coming back, making deeper investments, and it moves from test and learn to a strategic part of the business is a good way to validate the efficacy of it. So I know for us, 7 years and building. So it's a fairly nascent industry today, but one that is, I think, growing in multiples of 3 digits. So it's good validation of our tech, and I'm sure these guys will say the same about theirs.
I mean, if you think about the pain point of people not looking at the TV and missing the ad, the pain point. So you have to, it's a nascent industry because finally the advertising community has realized, wow, that's a problem, that's an issue. But now is there some organizations that can fix that distraction problem. But on the law of diffusion of innovation curve, it's right at the early adopter phase, which very small group, but 80% of the market is within the next year, 2 years.
Yeah, there's also just complete uniqueness in the offerings we all have. There's folks sourcing TV data. There's folks linking TV data to digital. There's folks capturing moments. So I think there's a lot of different applications that are on this panel today.
I have a suggestion. Pick a single KPI and do a head-to-head test.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, bake off, love it.
Well, thank you guys so much. I want to wrap up here, but I want to thank you guys again. Thank you guys for your sponsorship, and I think everyone in this room is excited to be retargeted with ads from you guys in the near future.
Love it.
All right.
Thank you.
Cheers, guys.